Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the MLS Now podcast. We're continuing on our parade of preseason content. I was thinking of another word that might have started with P for the alliteration there, for the consonants. And you know what? I've failed you, the listeners, but you know who's not going to fail you today? Our wonderful guests who are here to talk to you about Atlanta United. And, of course, we have to start with the least exciting out of all of them. You can find him on social media at BLeslie19. He already knew he was making hand gestures before I even introduced him. Bryce, as always, good to see you.
It's hard to say it back after that intro, but, you know, you've been putting in the work this offseason, Russell. It's good to see you, too.
Excellent. Thank you. Now I know that I can just intro you like that every time, and you'll never push back on it. So there we go. The standard has been set. Thank you. Joining us also, much more exciting than Bryce. And sorry, Bryce, we have to hype up our wonderful guests today. Yeah. But we have AJ and Mike from Atlanta United Fan TV. AJ, Mike, welcome in, both of you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you guys for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having us. Pleasure to be here. And pleasure to hear Bryce not defend himself. Hopefully he can do that next time.
I got it. It's his game day for him. You know, since he loses, he'll probably want to meet the group chat later. That's all.
Oh.
You know what? Hey, listen, we've had 3 years. I put my time of dealing with the banter era for FC Cincinnati. So, you know.
That's true.
You lose a Champions Cup match, hey, whatever. It happens.
Just get the away goal. That's what you root for, the away goal.
That's right. Get one away goal. See, we're going to do that, and then, we're going to end up like Austin and still lose 3-0 or, 3-1.
Oh, against Violet? Oh, that was rough. Oof.
Get destroyed.
Man.
Austin.
Bad memories for Austin, but well, we'll see. I mean, Austin could have really good memories this year, but this is not an Austin FC preview episode. This is an Atlanta United preview episode, which is why I love these, because I don't have to do as much work as I normally do, because that's why I have you guys, the experts, on to talk about Atlanta United. And what better place to start than the beginning, which for us is the end of the year, in this case, the off season, if you will. Atlanta United has had a pretty busy off season, is the word that I'm going to use here. I mean, you guys, obviously, big transfer record, right? Kevin Denke, and then Atlanta United looked at that and said, hilarious, let's blow that away. Spent tons of money, FU money basically, on Emmanuel Latteloth, which is huge. But I mean, that's not the only inbound for you guys. So I'd love just to get, from each of you, in addition to Latteloth, pick two other guys who you think are signings that you think, hey, these are great signings. Here's why I think they're going to be important. And then also just one guy on his way out who you think will be missed. So let's start off with AJ.
On his way out. Well, we don't really have anybody really on their way out, which is fantastic. But yeah, of course, the big one is Miguel Almiron. And Miguel Almiron, the homecoming, the airport arrival, that was just so heartwarming. And I think that little bit has energized this fan base immensely, and it's on maybe 2017 levels, maybe not 2018 levels yet, but there are some very, very excited fans, and I think you could tell by how big that line was outside of Atlantic Station, outside of the team store. I mean, people waiting from 10 a.m. Outrageous. So yeah, definitely.
Don't these people have jobs to be at?
They seem like children a little bit, maybe young adults possibly. So
so no school is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Playing
right, no school in Atlanta. That's right.
Exactly. So just
you guys must have had what, half inch of snow that day to cancel?
No, you can cancel on a threat of theoretical snow.
Exactly. I mean, it's gonna be 14 degrees or something like that tomorrow, I think. So yeah, no rain, but possibly we should just shut down everything. But what's I think also going to shut down is, just Marta going to these games now, because I think the hype is palpable. Like it's gonna be insane. And I'll leave some other players for everybody else, but yeah, Miguel Almiron is the obvious one, and it's just gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, so that's the big one. The second one being Matty Click, the metronome, hopefully for us in the midfield. His pairing with Bartosz will hopefully be incredibly good with the Polish connection. And I guess we do have some outbound transfers, a little in the way of Santiago Sosa, and kind of at one point big hopeful for us in U22, but we ended up going a different direction. I think he's playing for at Racing. He's a center back now, so perhaps he just maybe was in the wrong spot. I don't know, but whatever happened there, I'm kind of glad we moved on from it. And it seems as though Chris Henderson and Atlanta United in general is a little gun shy when it comes to U22s right now. So seems to be holding off on that. So I don't know. I don't think we'll be seeing another one of those for maybe another transfer window or two. So, yeah.
I'd say off the field, the big names coming in, of course, we have Chris Henderson coming in the front office as sporting director. Ronnie Dyla coming in. He did his time in New York, and then he went off, did a couple stints in Belgium. Jumped over sometime in Abu Dhabi, very brief time, and then came back over to Atlanta. It seemed like Garth Lagerwey admitted they were in contact before things became over the line, like months before. But I'd say like the one departure that people are sad about, and I think, in my opinion, a lot of people's opinion, was expected, was Rob Valentino. I know the question was in the playoff run last year, did Rob do enough to stay? And I, as much as I love him and everything he provided for the club, I think that the timing of his career and the direction of Atlanta United was not there in 2025. So I'm excited to see where he ends up, but I would say that's probably the only departure from the organization where it hit some fans, because he got a great departure message from the club. The fan base was always around him, and I mean, not just once but twice, he provided great amount of hope when he was in the interim role.
Gotta say, I'm surprised that no one gave Dax McCarty a shout. The dude seems like an immaculate locker room vibes guy.
No, he absolutely seems to have been. I mean, the accounts of him throughout the journeyman throughout the league seems to be that he is a elite human being. So, and his freshness, his candor in the post-match press conferences was incredibly refreshing. We don't get that a lot here in Atlanta, so seeing a player do that for us was at the very least something that we could do more of.
Yeah, I feel bad. 2025 was like kind of a tough spot for Dax, because I feel like we didn't really get to appreciate him with just how the year went. Like, I think Dax thought he was retiring like in the summertime, was going to be, regular season done. Then he got a little run out of it. So and especially being at Nashville, Red Bulls, his career beforehand, I feel like, a lot of fans didn't like Dax, and his like farewell tour, he came to Atlanta, and I feel like he didn't get the love like that because just it was unfortunate with the state of the roster while he was here.
Yeah, the real ones knew,
Yeah,
they showed him
I
his
think
flowers,
there was still,
but
exactly. I think the diehards knew that he was, someone that really helped the team in a dire moment, and kind of held it down in midfield when we really needed some leadership. And as well, I mean, you saw how quickly he was picked up by MLS. Like, he's got the gift of gab. He's got the ability to talk about the game in a really interesting and fresh way. And that's, obviously that's why he is where he is immediately after retirement.
yeah, check out his podcast.
I feel like he could be the next Sasha Kljestan.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I feel like they have a lot of similar attributes when it comes to how they analyze the game and how they talk about it. Just very honest.
That's what we need more of. Honesty in the communications department, but more so we need honesty in GAM. Let's all agree on that. need some transparency there and know how the roster rules actually work.
Now, I don't want Brad Guzan to retire necessarily anytime soon. However, when he does, I absolutely want to see him in a commentator role. It would be hilarious.
Yeah, the man is pretty unhinged when it comes to anything that he'll say, and yeah, he's like media trained, but there's also this like X factor of like, ooh, you don't know exactly what he might say.
Yeah,
though,
he's
and
got
it
that
might just
like
come off really well.
yeah, he's got that like Charlie Day like wild card aspect to him
Yeah,
once in a while that he'll just go off and say some wild stuff, and it's I'm here for it.
And just the mic'd up I wish we had of him on the field, especially like after wins when he just absolutely like clawing each player as he's coming by. I love some good Brad Guzan talk.
All right, you heard it here first. Brad Guzan is the next American Roy Keane.
I hope so.
Might be.
I don't know if he'll say as amazing things, but it's magisterial. I can't imagine him saying something like that, but
I still love the thing that he had on like Match of the Day when it was like Andy Robertson was complaining about a call and he's like, "Big baby, just get up, keep playing, baby." I'm just like, oh, only you, Keane. Okay, so hey, lots of changes, right? We're mega fans of MLS. Some would call us certified sickos. What's your regular Atlanta fan? Like, obviously, tons of them showed up for Almiron, right? Like, something tells me there's a lot of positivity in the fan base right now. Would you say that that's accurate? Are people expecting, like, they're saying we're running back 2018, we're winning trophies, like everything's coming our way? Like, is there any caution at all, or is it just pure hopium right now?
all right, you AJ, give a measured take before I just kind of jump in this like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think I haven't been in the Facebook group in some ages, so I don't know what the layman's person in there is saying, maybe in the sense, but just from our own comments and perusing Blue Sky or Twitter or X or whatever we want to call it, yeah, there is just palpable, like I mentioned before, and like there's some irrational takes possibly. But I think a lot of people are still they're giving respect to Inter Miami. They realize, yes, they're still the top dog. They have the GOAT. It's gonna be something that the calls still might go their way. So Atlanta United, maybe not winning Supporter Shield, but I think in cup competitions we're gonna be something of a force. And yeah, especially with the pace up front. So I think fans are kind of actually like, they might actually be measured as well in that sense, where it's like second through fourth is, I think, the general consensus of what the fans are thinking, and that's not really that far off from, I think, reality, unless the wheels just completely fall off. Which, knock on some wood, but I think our depth is a lot greater. Yeah, exactly, and it's just one of those things where the starters from last year are now the depth for this year, and that makes it a really tantalizing prospect that we can just have one person maybe not in the lineup and we'll be okay. It's kind of not really something that we've been used to. It's just like one DP out, we're completely screwed, and I don't think that's going to be the case this year.
Yeah, I think you can, at least the way I see it is you can break the fan groups into like three groups. One being the group that is extremely hurt by the last 5 or so years. And they will be traumatized by anything that we do and will have a reaction of negativity to basically everything and pessimism. And it'll take a lot for them to kind of overcome that, even if we're, we're being given the Supporter Shield trophy, handing it to us. Until it gets into their hand, they will still be like, there's a way we can screw this up. So those guys, there's definitely a block of that. Then there's kind of the measured take, which is, not to brag, but kind of our Discord, our community, kind of more of the, we'll land in the, second to fourth kind of area, which I don't think is, an unreasonable, estimation of our powers this season. But then there's the other third, which are like, Yeah, no, this feels like 2018 all over again. This feels like we're going to run over teams. It's because we built this team and it looks a lot like a similar profile to the 2018 team. So that's why a lot of people think, and obviously leading that charge is Miguel Almiron, and that bring all the memories and feelings that brings back. So there are people who are like that I feel like we have to talk, down a bit to be like, let's be real and see how things happen first. Just remember, we didn't win the cup in 2017 when we had Miguel Almiron as well, so we need to chill. But overall, extremely positive. Yeah, it's very, very optimistic for the most part. And we haven't seen it for a while. Last year, a little bit with Yorgos and Almada being there, but this is more. This is more than that.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at as well. I find myself extremely optimistic, and then I try to push back on it because I don't want to get hurt. Like that's my big thing when I'm going into it. And the only really things I can come to it are the same issues for any top MLS club if it hits, and that's injuries. If that just hits, MLS clubs aren't able to build depth at all 11 positions. That's just not how it works in salary cap league. So, I think if any of the back line hits for an extended period of time, then that's when you start questioning things. Some positions they have the depth to get through those spots. If it all doesn't click right away, I think it will. I mean, Miguel Almiron has been in the league before, and it's not like where he spent his time from this first Atlanta sit to his second. It's not like he was at a really bad spot. Like he was at the best league in the world. He was competing for one of the best sides, of course, in the fall. He wasn't seeing the playing time he had in the years prior, but I think he's going to hit the ground running. Similar with Latte Lath, who was in season, in form, scoring goals left and right. I am a little bit nervous about that long road stretch because Atlanta's hosting a lot of Club World Cup games in Mercedes-Benz. I think they're on the road for about 6 to 7 weeks in June to July, like the entire month of June. I think like the last weekend of May to like mid-July. So like if it doesn't click right away and then you have that in the middle patch, then they might have their work cut out to get that home playoff game. But I'm still extremely optimistic. Like that, I always try to talk myself back, but I think what we talked about even last night in the full season preview, with the way they spent and the expectations set by Garth Lagerwey, Chris Henderson, not getting top four would be a disappointment in 2025.
I appreciate, Bryce, that you're talking about whether or not it clicks right away, because I'm going to use that as a great segue to just get an instant reaction from the three of you. 0 points to 15 points. Where do you guys think you're falling in these first 5 matches, which you've got home against Montreal, away to Charlotte, home against Red Bulls, home against Miami, and then away at Cincinnati?
Yeah, it's not exactly the best run-in for the start of the season, but I think, Montreal should probably be a little easier for sure. But yeah, Charlotte revamped this year. FC Cincy probably maybe not as much. Red Bull, and what was the other one?
Miami,
yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, I think optimistically 10 points is probably a good run in those games. But I would maybe hedge those bets too. 9 points also would be okay. But anything less than that, not the best start. And it could, some fans could be a little bit like, okay, well, what's happening? Like, these expectations, we're not meeting them. Do we need some more time? Do we have the patience? It's this, kind of, we're ready to get hurt again, but it's that like kind of hot girl syndrome where it's like, okay, well, like let's just hedge our bets against kind of, okay, all right, it's a hot girl. Okay, maybe we just have to like just pause on actually being, be realistic. Like, what are our chances? I don't know. So
I absolutely love that comparison.
So
Ready to be hurt again, but it doesn't
Right.
mean you want to be.
Yes, exactly. So 15 points, I don't think is like we're not going to get 15 out of 15, but yeah, 10. That's my number.
I think it'll be below 10. I think like maybe 7 or 8.
Oh,
But I think we can make 2 wins out of that. I'm not sure we can get a win from Miami, even though it'll be at home. But yeah, Cincinnati. I mean, I think they're looking a little bit. Maybe I'm a little bit more bullish on them than you are, AJ. But I think that they can actually be dangerous. And my kind of theory going into the beginning of the season, I think one of you, I think Bryce or someone mentioned it earlier, that it could be that we might have a slow, to a little bit of a slow get up to speed period. I don't think that that's unreasonable or weird to expect that. We have a fairly fresh new attack. Yeah, they're all good, but we need to see how they work together and how they develop that chemistry, and that can take time sometimes. And unfortunately with Atlanta, a lot of times it seems like it does take its time, more so than not. So hopefully, obviously with Miguel, he has experience. He is not really the problem. I could just see, you could have Emmanuel Latte be a kind of a mental, emotional player, and things don't start going his way. He might get into a slump. Maybe Miguel gets injured. I mean, we're starting to get into that area of like, what could go wrong? How could the wheels come off and then derail the season? And a couple of those types of things in the beginning of the season, that can really gum up the works.
Yeah, looking at it, the first 5 games, tough. Montreal, I think you're gonna have to write that one in as 3 points. Like, I know it's the first game, but like that's the one. Like it's the first one, but that's the one you got to get the 3. The 2 road games are tough. When you're looking at those 2, you're like ceiling. Like if you get 4 out of those 2, you're feeling really good about those 2 road games. So like I'm probably putting it like somewhere between 1 and 3 is like probably what's going to happen from those. Like maybe you win 1, you lose 1, maybe you can find a draw on both. Maybe the worst case scenario, you only get 1 draw out of it. The Miami and Red Bull home games, hoping to get at least one of those. Of course, both, but I'm probably leaning towards around that 8-point mark. I think when I'm kind of
That's right, Bryce. That's right.
Hedging it as well. And I think like we were talking about the slow start. I really think after Cincinnati, when looking at it, we have that long stretch of road games, 7 or 8 road games in a row. But we have first 5 games, 3 home games, 2 road. And then after that, we have 3 home games. I think games 6 to 8 are where this team can really pick up a run of form before a couple road games. They're home against NYCFC, Dallas, and New England. Like I think like games 6 to 8 are when this team can really settle in and string some good results together at home. So I remember the first 2017 when they had that long stretch of home games. That's when they picked up like 4 or 5 wins in a row, and I think that could be the opportunity in the schedule to pick up some momentum.
Yeah, I mean, just to talk for a moment on that string of away games that we're staring down. I'm not as super nervous about it as I would have been in previous seasons. If this team is what it could potentially be shaping up to be, I'm not as worried about away game form as I was in previous seasons, which was obviously abysmal. But I think we can absolutely steal points from teams. I don't know if it'll be like 2018 stealing points from teams on the road, but there's no reason why we can't, find form away from home. We were even doing it a bit the end of last season somehow. So there's a chance there, and I'm not, afraid of it like I used to be.
For what it's worth, I think you guys should be Red Bulls pretty handily. I'm
Really?
low on
Okay.
Red Bulls right now. I'm very low on Red Bulls.
We had this last night. I'm actually really high on Red Bulls. Like I think they continue the form that they finished the last year on. And that team is just, with or without Emil Forsberg, is totally different. And I think he's going to be out there to start the year. So, but I mean, when you're looking at that, though, you're probably saying that's the second easiest game of the 5 to start the year. So, yeah, I mean, we can't play Red Bull as well. Like throughout our time, we just
Yeah.
home or away, we still haven't won in Red Bull Arena. We had it in our back pocket, and then they scored a tying goal in like the 93rd, 94th minute, and we only beat them when it counted in 2018. At least we had that, but regular season we struggle against the Red Bulls.
Yeah, there's still emotional scars from Red Bulls for I think Atlanta United fans. So that's never a guaranteed 3 points.
No, break the curse. I'm manifesting. It's happening right now. You'll be able to go back when you win against Red Bulls and be like, "This is."
Happy.
I mean,
This
Red
is where
Bulls
the
are
belief
good,
started.
but they're changing. They're not as what they used to be, at least like how they play, which was completely antithetical to how we were setting up. So things are changing with them. So who knows? We might be able to match up with them a little bit better in the future.
See, there we go. Mike's manifesting.
Love it.
It works. Power of positive thought.
It does.
Which now that we've had this power of positive thought, normally I would love to just continue the positive thoughts, but I just want to give you guys whiplash. And we're gonna go to the other end of the spectrum on this one. You mentioned earlier, Mike, you're worried about things like, as an Atlanta United fan, it's easy to think about where the wheels can fall off the season. So let's talk about that. Like, if you get to the end of the season, right, and let's say you miss the playoffs and, people are like super disappointed, right? Like, what would be the one thing that you think you would point to, like something likely to happen where you'd say, that's what ruined the season for us. Like, that's why we missed the playoffs.
I'll start. I think that the first domino that would have to fall, that would start like a cavalcade of terrible things, would be a long-term injury to Miguel Almiron, similar to the long-term injury when Joseph lost his ACL in that Nashville game. I think that derailed that season significantly. I think that you could see something like that happening here. It wouldn't just be a blow to the team physically in terms of talent. I think it would be a massive mentality and emotional blow to the fan base of taking almost the 17, right? The fan aspect of the team out of it. And I think, team starts to feel like that fans aren't with them or backing them. And, they start to crumble mentally a little bit because they're a unproven, team together. Things can start to fall apart. Animosity can creep up. Relationships that should have been built in positivity maybe start to become negative or sour. And then all of a sudden you're looking at players wanting to like leave the team next season because things have, they've soured and it wasn't unfortunately necessarily, some of those players' faults. It could just also, it's just Miguel Almiron got injured and then a few other things happen outside of that continue to fall. And then that's how the empire crumbles. But luckily that's a hypothetical and not going to happen.
Man, Michael, you have just depressed the hell out of me because your imagination.
Well,
is
think
too
of this
man.
though. Think of this though. That just replace like Miguel Almiron with like a lot of really high end DPs in any MLS team, and you have almost the same story. So don't get that scared.
Yeah, listen. So I'm also an Arsenal fan, and I know a thing or two about injuries that derail seasons, and yeah, the PTSD is rife, and it is fresh, unfortunately, right now. So yeah, LA United, yes, Miguel Almiron, yeah, that would be kind of a heart of the club for the fans. That would be very detrimental. I think, though, if it's only him, I mean, we still have a pretty decent attack. And so that, at the very least, we can possibly take that blow a little bit. But I think if we don't have our back line like completely healthy, we're gonna be a little bit of a sev. I think the guys that are the understudies could do a job, but I think at the elite level against the top teams, we're gonna be a bit susceptible, and that's really, I think, the Achilles of this team is how many goals can we keep out of the back of the net? Because I think we're gonna score more than 2 goals pretty often, but how many are we gonna let in through kind of boneheaded mistakes where we switch off. I mean, we've done that consistently, and it's basically the same defense from last year. And yeah, Amador, yes, definitely more of a bulldog, has the ability to affect the game from an offensive standpoint, but it's also, maybe the defense gets shielded a little bit better, but that's still the biggest question mark, because like we brought in maybe the right back for us that can actually stop any of the crosses from coming in, or from the back post that is still our Achilles. Hopefully that changes. But yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, kind of taking both of yours as the defense, the health. Like Stan Gregerson, he wore the DP tag. Obviously, he was just brought in for that the transfer fee short term, but he was still a lot of money towards him to bring him in. If he can't string a healthy season and really become one of the better center backs in the league, that even if he's out, like you're relying on the really young Noah Cobb, who I really believe in, but you're putting a lot of pressure on him if you're relying on him game in, game out. Luis Abram, I think he's a solid player, not at the price, but like if you're relying on Abram as well, it's just Derek Williams. I think he's a great leader, but I still think Derek Williams on a really good team is probably your third best center back. I think he had a great year last year, and I'm pretty happy with him as the number 2 on the left side. Brooks Lennon, what AJ was saying, I really like what he can bring to an attack, but is he the right answer now that we have speed on the flanks? Is he the right fit for this, really attacking, speedy 4-3-3? The number 6 role is like kind of where I'm circling it, and it's going to be Bartek Sliš, and I really like him as a player. He didn't really have a role last year. They kind of threw him everywhere in the midfield. He was kind of like the stopgap, like 10 when Almada was sold, because the only other option was Nick Firmino, and I think they tried that for a game and they realized, Bartek, like you got to get out there. If I think he's really the X factor to all of this. If he can really come in and be that 6 to really let Klish, let Miranchuk, let Saba, Almiron just push forward. If he can just, if he can take that ground that Edwin Cerrillo did for LA Galaxy, that let everybody on the Galaxy go advanced. Marky Delgado, another guy that just did all the work. I think if Bartek can win that role and become a top player in this league, I think it's going to go great. But if he can't, if he gets hurt, then I think this Atlanta game Atlanta's going to control a lot of games this year in terms of possession, in terms of attacking opportunities. But if they're very leaky on like 1 or 2 counters, then it doesn't matter how many you score if you're going to be in this 4-3-3-3 fight every single night. If Brad Guzan becomes 2023, Brad Guzan, not 2024, Brad Guzan. A lot really has to hit for Atlanta United to have a doomsday season like this. I don't think everything that I listed, I don't think more than half of those happen in 2025. But if we want to go down the hole, then yeah, that's everything that is going to hurt all of our hearts in 2025, if that's the case. And what Mike said, injuries. Like if Alexei Miranchuk Garth has talked about, once we get him speed, he's going to look as the best version of himself. But if he loses that speed due to injury on the flanks, then is he going to kind of disappear in some games like he did in the second half of 2024? But I'm a big Miranchuk fan. I think he's going to have a great 25. But
hey, intrusive thought, real quick. Is Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Cobb County in Georgia?
No.
A shame, because I was thinking Noah Cobb playing in Cobb County would be great.
Right, yeah.
Wonder if he likes Cobb salads. But
good thing David's not here.
Yeah, if only. I hear whenever he goes to a grill out, he always brings corn on the cob.
Always good.
I'll see myself out now. Okay, so we got the down part out of the way, right? So we're gonna go to our happy place again. We're going back to manifesting. We said it earlier before we were recording, right? Like, what if, like, what's the absolute ceiling for Atlanta? And like, what if absolutely everything hits, right? Like, and Atlanta goes on to like take first place in the East and maybe even like win Supporter Shield, right? Like, in order to have that dream scenario, I'm just curious, like, what are the most important things that have to hit? And, you know, you guys can list 2, 3, you can list 1, you can list 10. You know, I'll leave it up to you how many you want to list. I would recommend 2 or 3 because I think there's, you know, only so many answers and there's 3 of you. So,
yeah.
Well,
I'll make it easy for one,
sure.
just for one thing we just put out there is, I mean, in order to get Supporter Shield, like what AJ said earlier, with Miami in the league, with the best player in the world, arguably in the league, you kind of have to hope that some of these top tier teams, they get some serious injuries to some of their top players. And if that occurs, then the door is absolutely wide open for another team to walk in. So yeah, anyway, AJ, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can hope for the absolute worst for everybody else. And yeah, you know, that's great. Okay, cool. We'll do that. And then, yes, also I think winning many, many games on the road. So maybe, you know, in 2018, we won 10 on the road, and that's pretty incredible. If we do something like that, if not more, I mean, that's absolutely going to help us win Supporter Shield. And I think we kind of have an ability to maybe do that with the way that our attack is set up. If we decide that, okay, yeah, you know, you guys can have the ball. Opponent, sure, have it. Like, we can run havoc and absolutely tear apart defenses if they're having to go backwards. And so, yeah, there's a bit of that. And so I think one of the important parts is if Latte Lat, he scores near 20 goals, if not more, yeah, we're running this league. Like, it's going to be, you know, a lot of assists probably from a lot of the other players as well. Double digits, hopefully, from our wingers. I think, yeah, at that point, you know, it is plausible. I think there's, you know, Moranchuk feeding Saba, who nearly, I think, got double-digit goals last season. Miguel Miron, I mean, maybe a little bit of a question mark if he's going to be able to, you know, replicate his seasons that he's had in the past. But I think at the very least, assist-wise, I think he can reach a good bit of that. Goals, yeah, you know, there might be, but I don't think we'll need to rely on him as heavily. I think Latte Lath will kind of do a lot of the heavy lifting on that. So, you know, 3 guys and more essentially feeding the striker. Yeah, I'm licking my chops.
Yeah, if they're going to hit that Supporter Shield level like we're talking about, AJ said we need to win on the road. They also need to make Mercedes-Benz a fortress as well. Like, when away teams come, they were 6-7-4 last season at home. They need to, like LA Galaxy did not lose a game at home last year. Like, teams need to know when they come to Atlanta that they're going to have to play Atlanta's game and like hope that everything goes their way. Like, everyone talks about hockey, like the puck just falls their way. Like, just luck has to be on their side when they're coming to Atlanta. I think the other thing is Atlanta being able to beat different styles of tactics against them. Like, right now, if any other team, there's not many other teams, if we're playing in a wide open game, that I would take the other team against Atlanta. Like, if you want to allow the space for Atlanta just to build a counter attack up and just to come at you with speed. But I'm curious to see how they will play teams when they're keeping 9 or 10 behind the ball the whole game and just filling the box, especially later in games. So if they can find ways to beat multiple tactics, you know, multiple blocks of the like low block, high block, and defensive lines, I think that's going to be key as well. Just being tactically, being able to maneuver and fit. And AJ touched on it. Latte Lath just is the guy. And the profile is there. Like, Premier League teams after him, analytically, he just fits everything for a player that's going to come in and just take the league by storm right away. I think it's going to happen.
And plus, yeah,
shout.
So sorry, man. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. No. Please, you are the guest. AJ, go ahead.
Thank you. It's also that it's I think that the midfields, in those kind of either low blocks that we're going to be facing a lot at the bends. That's why Click is there. That's why Moranchuk is there, and that quality against just deep lying defenses. It's gonna be something that is gonna be a feature. And obviously, even with the best player ever in MLS, Darlington Nagbe, we struggled at times. But they're Click. I think it's maybe not comparable to the nth degree, but I think there is going to be something that he's going to be able to bring that is going to be able to help us break down a lot of teams and kind of allow really just not a lot of the heartbreak that we kind of have suffered the past 5 years.
The Click deal, I remember when I saw the first, we're acquiring him, and I was like, that just doesn't feel like the DP spot coming. And just to hear the terms that came around to that, I think even if he came in as a high TAM player, I'd be really excited about him. But the fact that he is coming in basically for close to league minimum he's 34, but he's phenomenal at what he does. And he's one of 7 players that Atlanta has on the roster that wore the DP tag or is currently wearing the DP tag. So I don't think many teams can say they've had 7 DPs on the roster.
Miami and LA Galaxy may disagree with you.
Yeah, that's true, but broken rules? No.
Hey, some people might think that Darlington Nagbe, best player in the league, was a statement made in jest, but there's probably a real good case to be made for that.
Oh, 100%. Listen to our Greg Garza episode interview recently. He just literally came out and was like,
this is legend Greg Garza.
Yeah, absolutely. Nagbe is the man.
Mm-hmm.
Great episode, by the way. Go listen to that if you haven't.
Thank you.
Right. You can find that episode if you follow them on social media at Atlanta United Fan TV.
Cheers. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hey, doing the social media plug. Gotta
love it.
Take advantage of that whenever I can get the opportunity to do that. Yeah. Okay, so hey, just as a fun off-topic thing, right? I've been throwing this question lots of people's way, and I feel like you guys have some great ideas. We're now living in a world where Don Garber has come to me and he said, Russell, I want you to go find the next marketing executive for MLS. And, I'm going to go to him tomorrow and say, Donnie boy, I found 3 guys. They're great. They're all, all Atlanta fans by pure coincidence, as it turns out, but they've got some phenomenal ideas for you. So just around the horn real quick, what would be your marketing gimmick or your suggestion or, something to make the league attract new viewers or get that audience that they need to really help grow viewership and take it to more of a global audience?
Make the MLS app free. Straight up. You gotta be able to get the, very casual fan to buy in. And I think it was, the MLS Cup where there was only about a couple 100,000 people that were watching, apparently. So I could be wrong, but I think that's what I heard, and that is staggering. That's because I think we did a watch party on our Discord, and there were 6 of us. So I think whatever that math is, I'm not an Asian that's good at math, but that percentage is seems pretty high to the hundreds of thousands there. So I think that's what should happen is you get everybody in, and then it's like I guess what was it? Early Netflix was sort of like that. No, it wasn't. What was
serve up MLS on DVDs? All right, I'm in. That's a bold idea.
Yeah, exactly. Just only mail in, and you watch the game 3 weeks later. But yeah.
I would do it just for the record. Just be able to say that I did it. Mike, what about you? What do you got?
Man, I'm not sure how to get. I mean, if the question is how to bring more casuals just to watch from the United States perspective, MLS in general, soccer in general, I mean, that's a hard thing to do. I think investing, I mean, this is not a Don Garber thing really, so I don't know who I'm talking to at this point, maybe USSF or something, but invest in soccer infrastructure at the kid level all around the United States more than you already do. I mean, they do, Arthur Blank in Atlanta does a lot of pitch setups and constructions around here. Obviously, we're now the United States soccer headquarters, so we have that going on. But more of that around the United States to just generate more interest in the sport and get people more involved with it, and they will want to watch it more and want to be more invested in it over time. And you see those things pay dividends in the future. But as like a one-off thing, just I mean, I'm not quite sure if there's. I mean, what AJ said, just it's like free beer and pizza. Yeah, everyone will show up. But like, outside of that, I don't, because that's not gonna happen. I mean, maybe hey, Don, let other teams do more deals like Miami did with Messi. For other top superstars, and then get a lot like big markets to all have their version of Messi, right? So like New York City has like Pogba or something, we can do that. Like that would be, I think something that would definitely generate more interest in eyes, especially international ones. So that's one way. And I think that's probably an aim they have. I mean, LAFC is kind of going that route to a degree, and LA Galaxy perhaps as well. So maybe that's what they're trying to do. But yeah, that would be my guess.
Hey, there's a lot of NFL owners, so like the idea of a franchise tag should not be a foreign concept to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think where I'm going with it is similar where Mike was starting to fall down. It's like having players that the city falls in love with. Like I like just, or not even just like the city, like the entire league. Like Cucho Hernandez, like that deal makes perfect sense for everybody involved. And I think it's really hard in an international market like soccer is because, the door moving in and out is it's you're not just competing with 32 franchises. When it comes, you're competing with thousands. When it comes to markets, and I just think finding ways to really, I think the internal transfer market really helps because now you have like, instead of, you Evander, Portland, that relationship goes south. Instead of the league losing a player like that and then bringing in David DaCosta, where like you have no idea if he's going to be a hit in the league, but like you have to buy yourself around it again. Like keeping the player, just because a current situation didn't work out for them in point A, but keeping them in the league, and just like Cincinnati fans being like, we just got like an MVP candidate last year. I know we just got rid of one, but like we got one that's 4 years younger, and like that builds you back up. So just finding ways to have players really market the league itself. And I think the World Cup coming here in 26 is going to help that marketing point within itself.
They might. They won't in Cincinnati because, Cincinnati already loves soccer, but also we don't get to host a World Cup. So, womp womp. We might. They say we might be a camp for a nation though. So, woo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Watch out, world.
Keep them away from the Skyline Chili ice cream.
No. Skyline Chili ice cream, as the kids say, it is goated. It's based, I think is what they said. It is crazy as it sounds. It is a legitimately good ice cream though. They've done something that, some people really love. Like, the concept of putting like salt on watermelon and it like enhances the sweetness and the flavor of it. In the Skyline ice cream, they've mixed in like the salted oyster crackers and just like the crunchiness of the oyster cracker with the texture of ice cream. And then you also have the salt that comes in with it and like balances out the like the sweetness of the cream. It's like super good.
Mm-hmm.
So
I disagree about the watermelon, but that sounds delicious.
Look,
you're just correct, but
I'm
Sweet,
not
savory.
personally, I'm not personally a salt on watermelon guy, but I know it's a thing. So,
It's garbage.
oh yeah. Hey, other controversial food take just to wrap us up here. Lightning round, pineapple on pizza.
No, thank you.
Yep. Hard pass.
No, thank you. I grew up a little bit like 30 minutes outside of Philadelphia, and I would go to New York City a lot too, and that's like my understanding of pizza. So anything with pineapple is not necessarily something that fits that for me so much so. So yeah.
If it's the only option and it's not from my wallet, I'm eating it and it tastes good for me, but it's not what I'm going out to order.
All right. Well, I'll have all of you know that I ordered a pineapple pizza for dinner tonight. So none of you are invited over to my place for dinner. Big pineapple on pizza stan over here. The sweetness of pineapple perfectly balances the overwhelming sodium in the cheese, and it complements the acidity of a tomato sauce. It makes tons of sense from a gastronomy standpoint.
This would be a great time to say Russell has a food podcast as well that covers Cincinnati, so stuff matters.
Yep. Yeah,
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You sound like someone who would really enjoy European candies and chocolates versus
I have-
American ones, because American ones, are one dimensional in terms of their kind of taste palette. Whereas, you hit that savory, you hit that not as sweet, kind of profile for some of those things. Like, I mean, my wife is she loves like Danish licorice. And I'm like, that's not really my game. But she's like, oh, that's like amazing candy. And I'm like, this isn't even sweet. Why do you call it candy in Europe? I don't get it. But she's just like, that's what we do. You guys have a weird sense of candy here in that it has to be hyper sweet. And half of your chocolate you call chocolate isn't even really chocolate. So,
I tell you what, sounds like a smart woman. I will note, I have a big fixation on Asian like candies, snacks. Like anytime, like when my wife and I go to like there's like tons of Chinese markets in and around like Cincinnati, which the northern suburb Mason has a huge Chinese population. So there's fantastic food and also just like some great stores in general. And just like if you've never had an experience in a Chinese based like supermarket, like just go and treat yourself to that, because like you'll see the coolest snacks in like the wildest flavors. You'll get an entire aisle of Lay's chips and flavors that you didn't know existed and you didn't know that you wanted to exist. And then it'll be like something totally random. It'll be like, Italian meat sauce potato chips. And I'll be like, that sounds wild and not very interesting. Anyways, that's going in the cart. Or other times it'll be like, oh, you get like a roasted squid chip. And I'm like, yes, amazing. Top 3. So, or cucumber flavored Lay's.
The
AJ, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, turtle chips, undefeated. It's not Chinese, but oh my god, there's like a truffle
we
flavor.
We have an area here and a little slightly outside of Atlanta on Buford Highway, where we have an exceptional amount of Asian cuisine going on over there. Authentic, wonderful, delicious. So if you're ever in the area, like that is the place to go if you're into Asian cuisine. And
right,
it reminds me a little bit of it also, I kind of be remiss to not mention that we got Atlanta United has its, well, technically second, but Tagashi is our first essentially Asian player on the team. So, there's some representation there, which is awesome.
Volume 1.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is I'll see Yuya Kubo, and he almost always shows up one day to like Asian Food Fest in Cincinnati, which, Asian Natty putting on, this event called Asian Food Fest that started as just like a small little thing. And now it spans like multiple city blocks, and they like shut down streets. And it's just like tons of like local restaurants and vendors and everything. And it's just like hundreds of thousands of people now go to this. I love it. It's one of my favorite festivals that the city does.
Okay.
Awesome.
So, anyways, hey, if you want to follow a food podcast, you can go find Cincy Foodcast on social media. Just keep sliding the
cross pollination. That's
Yeah, very shameless here. Hey, speaking of pollination, honey, right? Hot honey, amazing,
Oh, yes.
amazing topping.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, anyways, hey, I'm going to move us away from food. I'm going to move us to the end of this episode because I selfishly want to go watch Cincinnati play in the Champions Cup.
As you should.
So, hey, guys, I appreciate all of you for being on here and making some time to chat with us about Atlanta. So, just a quick reminder for the viewers, you can find AJ, you can find Mike on social media at Atlanta United Fan TV. You can find Bryce at the MLS Now podcast. Not even going to put his personal, handle in
You
there.
better
Or you
watch
can
out.
find him at the
It might be Bryce at Atlanta United Fan TV, the way you're introducing me and closing me out.
That's right. You can find Bryce at his University of Delaware podcast.
Yeah. For plug-in
Hey, there we
feathers
go.
and field goals, there we go.
That's 4 podcasts we've dropped in here. We're basically just an aggregator of content now. So there we go. But yeah, you can find Bryce at bleslie19. Bryce, AJ, Mike, all of you, thank you very much for being on here, taking some time to meet with us, being flexible with the schedule. You guys rock. Best of luck to you. Looking to see some good things out of Atlanta this year.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thanks for
I
having
mean,
us on, man.
it feels like exciting, swashbuckling Atlanta United is back, so that's what we're hoping for.
Perfect. In a perfect world, Atlanta United finished second in the East behind Cincinnati.
I'll take that with our
Yeah.
as the first year of this new regime. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. You heard it here first. Mike has said he would take Atlanta finishing behind Cincinnati, and I'm just going to cut out and edit the part that you said for this year. It's just going to make it sound like you said it forever.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Ronnie Dylan, NYCFC year 2 cup. Tata Martino year 2 cup. So
Mhm.
Uh-oh.
2026. But no, I appreciate AJ, Mike. Thanks for joining. I other co-hosts on this, Cincinnati, Orlando, DC. So it felt good, to have some guys on my side for this one. So appreciate you guys making some time.
Overwhelming. Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
You say that as though they're not on your side anyways.
Nope.
Yeah, no problem, buddy. No problem. Always good to back up another Atlanta fan.
Awesome. Well, once again, AJ, Mike, Bryce, thank you as always. And to the listeners, thank you very much as always. We'll keep the preseason content coming. It's going to start turning into just regular season content at this point. But until then, everyone, till next time.